Wallhanger TV is brought to you by Elite Archery, Respect the Game, Reconics, See What You've Been Missing, Dead Downwind, It's Not Just Luck, Antler King, Bigger Bucks, Healthier Deer, Gator Track Boats, making waves where the competition can't, Mossy Oak, It's Not a Passion, It's an Obsession, Scott Archery, everyone's #1, Ozonics, in the field ozone generator, ammo2go.com, your one-stop shop for all your ammo needs. Previously on Wallhanger.
Man, it can be dangerous out in the wild. It's really all in how you handle the situations. What was that? Bull, this is Chad, got a little issue. Busted a bolt off.
Man, was I glad to see Bull.
Bull saved the day so Chad and Dana could finish up egg collection, while Robert and Ted brought closure to their hunt in Africa.
Oh my goodness.
Surviving rising floodwaters, they worried the delay of the wild alligator season could affect their departure for New Mexico. The wild gator season was Chad and Dana's last leg of summer duties at home, but Chad had booked an elk hunt in New Mexico 1 year prior without factoring in Hurricane Isaac. And with the wild season delayed, they now know filling the gator tags has become an issue with their scheduled departure for New Mexico.
You know, it's not unusual for the weather to postpone gator season, but the only difference this year is we have an elk hunt we have to get to. And when the state issues you a certain quota of tags, you have to get them filled, and we have to get these done before we leave.
Usually we can tag out in a couple weeks. We've done it shorter, and sometimes it takes longer. It really just depends on what the weather's going to do, what the pressure's going to do, and hopefully the water stays down once it gets there, so we can tag out pretty quick.
The high waters pushed the wild season back 3 days, which means Chad and Dana are already 3 days behind schedule.
Man, there's nothing we can do about starting late, but one thing we can do is work our butts off. We've got one goal, that's to get tagged out and get on our elk hunt.
An alligator hunter must possess alligator tags to harvest alligators. These tags are issued by the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries on property containing sufficient alligator habitat capable of sustaining an alligator harvest. Alligators may be harvested by hook and line, bow and arrow, and firearms with exception of shotguns.
Man, this is a commercial industry and we treat it like one. I mean, our goal is to get out there and tag out efficiently, and there's no doubt for us to do that, we prefer using a firearm. It's quick, simple, and fast, and it allows us to get the job done.
Each alligator must be tagged, measured, and have its sex determined upon coming into the farm.
I prefer the fastest, most efficient way to get these tags filled.
The deadline for their departure on the New Mexico elk hunt was here. Chad and Dana had somehow pulled it off. With all gator tags punched, they had beat the deadline and closed a chapter of another long, hard summer.
Man, it seems like we do all of our work in the summer. And one thing about being that busy, time has flown. I mean, just like that, the summer is over with, and we're heading on my elk hunt.
It had been a long, hot summer, and I was so excited to get gator season over and hit the road headed to New Mexico for the first hunt of the year.
Chad and Dana are headed to hunt with Bighorn Outfitters in Luna, New Mexico, owned and operated by Dan Adair and Daniel Nichols. These guys combined for years of knowledge hunting big elk in this area. At Bighorn Outfitters, they guarantee a do-it-right elk hunting experience.
These points here are killer, dude. Look at that. Yeah. We were really looking forward to our experience at Bighorn Outfitters. Now, this is the first time we've hunted with these guys, but we had done our research. I felt confident in using them, and if I'm gonna go all the way to New Mexico on an elk hunt, especially after drawing a tag, you better believe I'm gonna go with somebody I can trust.
We're going to be sharing camp this week with TJ with Reconics and his son Austin, and they are a blast to be around.
Whew. Sharing camp with TJ and Wonder Boy. This is going to be a long week.
So we were looking forward to hanging out with them all week and just having a good time.
Also hunting the mountains of New Mexico were Chad's uncle Chris and his son Ranger. They had arrived about the same time as the rest of the crew, but were based out of a different camp. Uncle Chris lives somewhat of the same lifestyle as Chad and Dana. He calls Lizard Creek home and does his part on the family gator farm, while also sharing the drive to work hard and hunt hard. Chris is also a very well-known dirt track driver, traveling state to state with his pit crew looking to take a ride down Victory Lane. His son Ranger has been raised with this lifestyle. This father and son duo are inseparable when it comes to anything outdoors.
Here we go, man. It's us and TJ and Austin in one camp, Chris and Ranger in another. We're spread all over these Gila Mountains, but one thing that's pretty cool for Austin, myself, and Ranger, this is going to be our first bow kill for an elk if we can manage to tag out.
This is Chad's second elk hunt ever, and will be his first bull if he can close the deal on one.
I'm not gonna lie, it was a dream come true for me to be bow hunting New Mexico in the forest like this, in the rut at that. I mean, I can't express how excited I was. It was like I was on my first deer hunt I'd ever been on.
This segment has been brought to you by G5, designed to hunt, and by Advanced Tree Stands, engineered to advance your game. This segment is brought to you by Halo Rangefinders from Wild Game Innovations, never miss, and by Black Rack Rattling System, twice the sound with twice the rack, only from Flextone.
Well guys, we just got settled in at camp at Bighorn Outfitters, and I'm pretty jacked because this front actually pushed through. It's a lot chillier up here than it was in Louisiana, so I'm pretty excited, but I think we're fixing to go shoot the bow a couple times before it gets dark and get ready to jack something up in the morning.
It's mid-September in the Gila Mountains, and the rut is in full swing. Chris and Ranger settled in at camp over at Black Range Outfitters. It took a little time to make sure their archery equipment was still dialed in. The next morning couldn't get here quick enough, as this was the hunt of a lifetime for both of them.
September 16th, first morning for us to hunt. Feels like it's about lower 40s, upper 30s this morning.
And the general mood is, woo! We're going elk hunting.
The morning was off to somewhat of a slow start for Chris.
We just heard one bugle. He's just over a ridge, but he's got a lot of open ground between us.
But after locating a bull, the guide Ray quickly devised a plan to move it closer. Stopping and calling to the bull on the way to keep him located can be very effective, although the elk's best defense is his nose, so Ray and Chris must pay very close attention to wind direction when closing the distance.
Man, these guys have got in close on this bull, working the wind, and the one they were after just wouldn't show up, but they had one bugle, and out of nowhere, here comes a 6x.
This was not the herd bull that Chris and Ray were after. Chris decided to pass on knowing his chances of a bigger bull were pretty good. Back at Bighorn, Chad was enjoying the sunrise on his first morning out.
Well, guys, it's our first morning in New Mexico on our elk hunt. It's actually a gorgeous morning. It's a tad windy, but we're with our guide, Mr. John, and he's been on a couple bulls in this area. Bull's been talking a little this morning, but he's been a little quiet, but the sun's just now coming up, and we got a pretty good game plan.
Well, the strategy on day one was pretty simple. We got up early, got in the woods before daylight. You could hear these bulls bugling, and we were just trying to hear them, locate them, play the wind, and get after them. And this particular spot's pretty thick, but I can tell you, it didn't take long after daylight and looking around to realize that we were in some serious elk country.
There's definitely been a lot of elk in here. We've been seeing some sign. You can see in this pasture where they've been feeding and nipping off a lot of this grass. Just kind of making a big swing, and we're going to get up higher. See if we can't strike one, but we're definitely in a good area. We're seeing their sign.
Well, this elk hunt's no easy hunt. I mean, we got after a couple bulls early, but they didn't pan out. So, I mean, it's up to you. We're doing a lot of walking, a lot of scouting, a lot of calling. We had already made a bunch of big walks, I don't know, a few miles back in this wilderness, basically. And unbeknownst to me, we're walking up on and see a rattlesnake coiled up in the middle of our trail.
The green Mojave rattlesnake is found in the southwestern part of the United States, primarily a snake of high desert or lower mountain slopes. It is often found near scrub brush such as mesquite. The Mojave rattlesnake has venom that is considered to be the most debilitating and potentially deadliest of all North America snakes.
From where I'm from, when I see a snake, the first thing I think is what we got to do to try to kill it. But one, I realized this was a very rare snake, and two, the guy that told me it's a old Indian myth that if you kill one of those Mojave rattlers that you'll have bad luck in a year from that day. Now, whether you believe in that or not, I wasn't about to test it, I can tell you that.
Meanwhile, Chris and Ray were still at it. After a close call with a younger bull, they stayed in pursuit and worked around the mountain in search of a mature bull that would work to the call. They had some luck with getting the cows in range, but the bulls were another story.
We lost the battle, but the war ain't over.
Man, it was another close call for Chris. I mean, it won't be long for one of us to hook up. That looked like a mighty fine bull, but he just wouldn't come over the hill. You know, it done got later in the evening and it got hot, so we basically just set up on a big ridge, just glass, and wait on the bull.
So you like this spot for this evening?
Yeah, we'll sit here, kind of watch this glass, this area here. Hopefully they'll come off this ridge, come down in here.
Man, I'll give it to our guy, man. He spotted this bull out there with the eagle eye. I mean, I said he was about 2 miles. I think he was 500-600 yards, but we got after him. I mean, we got after him and it cooled off, and I know we were close. We got close with a lot of elk sign. We made a little stalk up in a little pasture, but
We think we're only about 300 yards from this bull.
wasn't long it got dark and day one was over and the elk had beat us today.
Score 1 for the elk, 0 for Team Wallhanger today.
High Mountain seasonings are an easy way to transform your game into jerky, snack sticks, sausages, and brats. Best of all, it's fresh, easy to make, and tastes great. To find High Mountain seasonings in your area, go to highmtnjerky.com. This segment is brought to you by Hunter Safety System. Saving lives is what we do. And by The Sportsman's Guide, the largest supply of name brand hunting gear at closeout prices. The first day was in the books, and back at the Bighorn camp, Chad and the crew took a few stories over supper. No arrows had been turned loose yet, but TJ and Austin had an eventful day, with one close encounter. Maybe too close.
He's right here, and my bow is fully drawn right here. As soon if you would have watched for that.
I had the shot.
You should have taken it. You should have taken it.
I thought you were going to shoot him.
I couldn't. I was stuck here. I
I didn't
couldn't.
want to take it.
It's our second morning at Bighorn Outfitters. We just came off a huge ridge and fell about 1,000 feet down in this big bottom.
Well, it's day 2 and it starts off a lot like day 1. We'll get out there really early, way before daylight, and we're with Daniel this morning. He's got some elk that they had actually got on the week before. He was right, we got right on them, but the problem was they were not wanting to come our way, and they wasn't wanting to hold still either.
Man, it's like the 3rd time we tried to set up on this bull. And he is all in bud. He's pushing these cows and bugling the whole time. And every time we cross one ridge, he crosses another.
I mean, we would make a move and they would make a move. We'd go one ridge and they'd go 2.
How far do you think that bull is?
About 300 yards.
A few hundred.
We basically chased this elk all the way into their bedding ground, you know, and we couldn't go in there because of the wind. And the bad part about chasing him that far is we had to do all that walking just to get out of there. Now we're talking about going and set up somewhere different for that evening's hunt. I'm about halfway out and I'm not thinking I'm gonna make it out in time to hunt anywhere.
We're about halfway out. I think these boys forgot I'm from Louisiana where I'm about -2 sea level. I've been doing the math. I figure I got about a 50-50 shot of making it out here. So in case I don't make it, Dana, Mama, I love y'all. Thanks for everything. It was fun.
Over at Black Ridge, Chris was doing some walking of his own, tagging along behind his guide, Ray, hoping they could close the distance on a bull. As they continued their efforts into the afternoon, Chris got some breaking news across the radio.
Evening of our second day. Heard on the radio this morning, Ranger got a bull. Can't wait to get back and see what he got.
Sounds like Ranger's graduation gift had become a reality. Chris couldn't wait to get back to camp to see what he got. But for now, he was going to see what the afternoon had in store for him. Chad and his guide Daniel had rested up from their long morning hike and were headed to a new location in hopes of finding a bull that wouldn't lead them up and down every canyon in New Mexico.
We had a brand new location we were going into, a gorgeous spot. We actually drove the truck not far from where we were going to start hunting, seen a few elk on the way in, and basically Daniel told us just be patient. He had a bunch of big ridges we were going to work around the side of in glass and caul. It was getting dark, and we decided to try to make it back to the truck.
Hey, did you hear that? That sounded like a bull, Daniel.
Right here, right here, right here.
Crossbows have extended hunter seasons nationwide, and Barnett has been at the forefront of crossbow technology, coming out with new, innovative crossbows like the Ghost 410, the fastest crossbow that Barnett has ever made, and the Buck Commander Extreme, ultralight, weighing just 7.1 pounds. Barnett crossbow, faster, stronger, lighter, every year for over 50 years. This segment is brought to you by the amazing Luminoc. Light 'em up with Luminoc and always know where your arrow hits.
Well, the hunt was over. We had finally seen the truck and got to it, and I could have swore I heard a bull.
Hey, did you hear that? That sounded like a bull, Daniel. Maybe right in here, I don't know. You want to blow that cow call a couple times? Hell, it might have been back there, I don't know.
Sure enough, man, Daniel hit that cow call and one bugled, and he was close.
Right there. That's right there, dude.
Man, this was just one of them moments you knew it was game on. When that bull answered, we knew it was getting late, and it was time to get in there quick.
Heck yeah, man, let's do it. That bull didn't sound that far, man. You want to try him again? Right there. There he is.
Man, the closer we're getting, the more these bulls are getting fired up. There's actually 2 or 3 bulls in this bottom in front of us. Man, a good setup's hard to find in a panic situation almost like this. It usually always is, but believe it or not, we go over the top of this hill and get pretty close, and there's more than one bull in this bottom, and I think we're only about 150 yards from them, but we're actually on a nice rolling hill, and what it allowed to do is let Daniel stay back on the back side of that, make a bunch of racket and call for us, and we were able to actually get up and get over to the side on the downwind side of this hill and be able to see pretty good in front of us, and I had a real big shooting lane out to my left. And these bulls were tearing it up, and I knew it was a matter of time. One of them was not going to be able to take it, and he was coming. And sure enough, I heard one of them the last time he bugled. He was 50, 60 yards closer, and I knew he was not far at all, and he was committed.
Hey, right here, right here, right here.
Tune in next week to see if Chad closes the deal on what will be his first bull ever.
Be glad you didn't go today anyway.
Yeah, man.
I don't know yet. We'll find out in the morning.
Back at Black Ridge, Uncle Chris comes to full draw. And Boy Wonder brings his hunt down to the wire with efforts on a last day bull.
I botched the drawback. Bad angle. I don't know. I was shaking like crazy.
Chad builds a homemade sprinkler system to fight the Kansas drought. And Robert Beal is on some giant whitetails while bow hunting the early season.
Oh, there's a bigger deer now.
Wallhanger TV has been brought to you by Elite Archery, respect the game. Reconics, see what you've been missing. Dead Downwind, it's not just luck. Antler King, bigger bucks, healthier deer. Gator Track Boats, making waves where the competition can't. Mossy Oak, it's not a passion, it's an obsession. Scott Archery, everyone's #1. Ozonics, in the field ozone generator. AmmoToGo.com, your one-stop shop for all your ammo needs. And these fine sponsors: